Hi, I'm Lani. I was an anesthesiologist, but I migrated to the US in 2009 and worked as a dialysis nurse. I was shocked to see my coworkers eat chips, chicken nuggets, and pizza for lunch. Soon I learned to embrace the SAD diet, or the standard American diet. I'd often miss breakfast, having to leave the house at 5:30 a.m. I drive through McDonald's between dialysis cases and ordered a McChicken and super sweet iced tea for brunch. I'd come home for dinner at around 10 p.m. and eat the burger helper that my husband would cook. My weight and BMI remained normal at 124 pounds and 21.6. But during my annual checkup, I was shocked to see my lipid profile showing a high LDL. My HDL was low. My blood pressure was 125 over 85. The health team handed me a paper showing I had pre-hypertension and hyperlipidemia. I shrugged off the results. My weight is within the normal range anyway. I'm most likely an example of your typical healthcare worker. What I hear in the classroom often doesn't get translated into reality. I know about nutrition, can count calories, but often fail to walk the talk. In fact, when I was a student nurse at UP, I survived on noodles packed with preservatives and relied on Coke and Granny Goose chips to fuel my brain as I studied biochemistry. As a medical student in UST, I could compute calories and ATPs, but I never bothered to read how many calories and grams of sugar there were in the chocomallows and chocolate biscuits that I stored in my dorm locker. During my anesthesia residency at St. Luke's Medical Center, my lifestyle was no better. When my body craved for sleep, I chugged caffeine instead. It's so easy to sabotage our health. I did not even bother to trace the root cause of my high LDL cholesterol. Most healthcare professionals did not bother to explain the hows and the whys because they assumed I already knew these things. But now I can trace the root causes of my health problem and identify where the gaps lie. These are the factors that contributed to my health challenges. First, lack of time. I was always in a hurry. Second, lack of knowledge. I did not know how diet could significantly affect my blood tests. Third, lack of skills or creativity. The dishes that we knew how to cook were high in saturated fat. Fourth, lack of resources. There was no access to healthy food at work, nor did I know what was healthy and not. Fifth, lack of interest or motivation. My weight and BMI were normal, so I was not motivated to change my diet. So what made me embrace better food choices? Let's get on with my story. After 2 years and a back injury, I quit my toxic job and moved to a 9 to 5 work in research, where I now have the time to cook for my family and pack lunch. I still wake up at 5 a.m. and now have the time to exercise on the indoor bike to help manage my back pain. My rehab doctor told me to lessen my intake of processed food, dairy, and red meat. He said it might help, but did not explain why. So I did not take it too seriously. I thought I ate pretty healthy. I'd have a home-baked white bread toast and coffee with cream and sugar for breakfast. My lunch and snack consisted of a banana, apple, orange, and a bag of chips. I'd go home and cook the usual Filipino dishes: adobo, tinola, nilagang baka, pinakbet, and the like, served with white rice. Often, it was a heavy dinner. During the hospital annual blood exams, my lipid profile turned normal, but the following year, my triglycerides were high, and then the year after, it was my LDL again. My blood pressure was pre-hypertensive at 121 over 84, based on the European standard anyway, but following the American guidelines, it remained as hypertension stage 1. They recommended that I follow the Mediterranean diet. I had a vague idea of what it was. I had done the South Beach diet in the past and lost the 5 pounds I gained from pregnancy. It should be the same, right? Eat whole grains, lots of fruits and vegetables, lean meat, low-fat dairy, low salt, and avoid sweets. I always believed my diet was pretty much like that. I forgot that I'd often eat Krispy Kreme donuts and Starbucks caramel macchiato for snacks or breakfast. During one of the lunch and learn sessions, a dietitian explained how to read nutrition labels. 5% was low and 20% was high. So look for low fat, low sugar, low salt, and choose foods high in fiber, high in protein, high in vitamins and minerals. I quit drinking fruit juice and ate whole foods instead. I switched to brown rice, and this lessened my rice intake in the evening. My weight dropped to 120 pounds.
I wish I could say I have remained healthy from that time onwards, but unfortunately in 2018, as I approached menopause, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. I was in a constant state of inflammation, waking up with burning shoulders, muscular aches, and joint pains. My fasting blood sugar was at 107 grams per deciliter. I learned this was a pre-diabetes level. I may look 30, but I felt like 80. I lacked focus and my memory was faltering. Because my symptoms and blood levels were not too serious to be taken seriously, there was nothing that doctors could offer but to watch and wait. At around this time, I began to question the meaning and purpose of my life. These existential questions hounded me. What do I want to be when I grow old? If I don't do anything, how will I look 30 or 50 years from now? Did I want to end up with a cane? I look at my family history. My father underwent a triple heart bypass at age 50, had an angioplasty a couple of years later, and another. He had a stroke years after. He was a doctor. My brother also had angioplasty with stent placement at 52. My mother developed diabetes. She was a nurse. Was genetics to blame, or did we share common eating habits that predisposed us to these conditions? I saw this cover from the magazine showing two centenarians doing yoga and running the marathon, and I asked myself, what can I do to change my trajectory and end up with better health outcomes? So I did some research and stumbled upon gut health and the microbiome. I learned that there are trillions of bacteria in our gut. Most don't harm us. In fact, some are helpful in digesting food, protecting us against infection, and maintaining health. We call this a healthy microbiome. Studies have shown that there are factors that promote the growth of beneficial bacteria. There are also factors that kill them, making the disease-causing microbes to predominate, leading to dysbiosis. Factors like overeating processed foods, stress, frequent antibiotic intake, and a diet rich in refined food and low fiber can lead to dysbiosis. Having more pathogenic bacteria in the gut can even affect our mood, memory, metabolism, and the development of chronic diseases ranging from metabolic and inflammatory disorders to gastrointestinal diseases and even colorectal cancer. Does this explain my health problem? If so, what was the solution? I did more research and discovered a new path to health. Culinary Medicine. Dr. John LaPuma, author of the New York Times best-selling book, Chef MD's Big Book of Culinary Medicine, defines it as a new evidence-based field in medicine that blends the art of food and cooking with the science of medicine. The name alone piqued my interest. I love to cook, and in fact spent most of my waking hours in the kitchen. Didn't they say that was a clue to your purpose in life when you have the passion and potential for something that meets a perceived need and has the possibility of bringing profit to your body, mind, and spirit, as evidenced by your productivity in that particular area? So I reached out to the Health Meets Food program and inquired about the Culinary Medicine Specialist Certification course. The pathway to getting certified as a culinary medicine specialist entailed eligibility assessment, application and course enrollment, completion of the 60 credits of coursework within 24 months. This included online coursework through the education portal, 4 hands-on teaching kitchen modules, attendance in the Health Meets Food Culinary Medicine Conference, and completing 2 required readings. After completing the course, one can take the certification examination, which consisted of 100 multiple-choice questions at a testing center. But not everyone needs to go through the rigorous process of certification to get educated in culinary medicine. Some residency programs include culinary medicine as part of their rotation. Others offer the curriculum as an elective course. In fact, over 55 medical schools, residency programs, and nursing schools here in the U.S. have already adopted the Health Meets Food Culinary Medicine curriculum. Here's an example of how the curriculum is being taught.
We'll be doing 3 different recipes. The first section is the avocado mousse. We are starting with dessert.
It's not an ordinary cooking class. It's culinary medicine,
So if you're right in front of that cutting board, I want you to go ahead and pick up that knife.
a required course designed for first and second year medical students at the University of Maryland School of Medicine,
So when you're blending, it gets really immersed in
one of the first medical schools in the country to offer a nutrition and cooking course as part of the core curriculum.
This is all about practical nutrition, education, behaviors, both for the patients and for the students themselves. We're not just looking to help support the health of future patients, but equally as much to support the wellness of our students.
This is a brand new program. We're excited to be a part of it. What we're providing right now is a couple of different things. Our business solutions, which we have 2 corporate chefs on staff, which will help with the curriculum as well as determining products that we're going to provide at no charge for the program.
It feels so good to see this. You know, we started the University of Maryland Center for Integrated Medicine in the School of Medicine back in 1991. It was the first in the country, and to see how far that it's come, that we can actually have in the required curriculum some culinary health and medicine as part of what the students get exposed to. You know, who knows what's next.
Before going into the kitchen, the medical students receive in-depth nutrition instruction with data from the latest studies and learn about popular diets that their patients will surely ask about.
There's no one right way. This provides patients and our students the latitude to understand food a little bit more than just going what a diet book says.
Culinary medicine is indicative of how the School of Medicine is changing the core curriculum to provide more active learning and keep pace with changing patient needs. And the students are eating it up.
I think being a doctor involves a lot of not just clinical knowledge, but also life knowledge that you might need to pass on to your patients. And for some of these patients, they may not know how to cook or what they can use and what's affordable for them. And by us learning, we can also share this knowledge with our patients and hopefully make it better for them as well.
Culinary medicine also fits in with the curriculum's new emphasis on student wellness.
And learning how to cook well and easy, simple recipes is a great skill to learn as well for ourselves. So it's win-win.
For the University of Maryland School of Medicine, I'm Larry Roberts.
Cheers. Cheers.
As I got more convinced that culinary medicine is a path for me, I asked Dr. Lapuma what kind of future work I could do with this specialty. His answer surprised me. I never realized that obesity and diabetes were trending in the Filipino population. I always thought our traditional Filipino dishes were healthier than the American fare. After all, kare-kare, pinakbet, nilaga, and tinola always had vegetables in them. However, the data from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services show that although non-Hispanic whites are more than 60% likely to be obese as compared to Asian Americans, Filipino adults were 70% more likely to be obese as compared to the overall Asian population. And we know that people who are overweight are more likely to suffer from high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. An even bigger surprise was that Asians have a lower cutoff point when it comes to BMI because studies have shown that Asians develop type 2 diabetes at a lower BMI. Thus, having a BMI above 23 is already considered overweight compared to the cutoff of 25 for other races. There's a possibility that our obesity rate may even be underestimated since this cutoff point is not commonly adopted in literature and in Western countries. The Joslin Diabetes Center cited that 32% of Asian Americans have prediabetes due to genetic and environmental influences, indicating a need for focused care in our rapidly growing population in the U.S. With a renewed sense of meaning and purpose, I enrolled in the Culinary Medicine Specialist course in August 2019. My first hands-on kitchen experience was at the kitchen laboratory at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, where they teach consultants, medical students, and residents the art and science of culinary medicine. We had case studies, then we prepared the dishes to address the health problems, and learned knife skills and cooking and plating techniques in the process. We then presented our dishes and discussed the nutritional values. As we ate, we discussed the topic and how we can apply culinary medicine in the clinical settings. Around this time, my husband and daughter have decided to become vegetarians. I was initially concerned, but the culinary medicine module on proteins and vegetarianism put my mind at ease. I learned that it's possible to meet our daily protein requirements even with a plant-based whole food diet. When the pandemic hit, the hands-on kitchen experience transitioned to virtual cooking classes. Stuck with 4 mouths to feed 3 times a day, culinary medicine helped us thrive in an environment where survival of the fittest became the name of the game. It was during the pandemic that I completed the course requirements and took the board exam on December 8, 2020, and got certified as a culinary medicine specialist. Shortly, I became a resource person for my colleagues. I got invited to talk during the Society for Obstetric Anesthesia of the Philippines virtual conference, followed by the UST Medical Alumni Association webinar, then the FEU Department of Child Health Subspecialty Lecture Series, and this culminated in the first Dr. Leonor Rivera Professorial Chair Lecture, where the Department of Anesthesiology of St. Luke's Medical Center awarded me for my culinary medicine advocacy. It's strange how one can be called to educate from the humble kitchen. What I learned in culinary medicine I taught in these webinars using my own food journey as an example. Foremost is how to use the Mediterranean diet scoring system in creating one's food RX. Unlike other diets which tell you, don't eat this, don't eat that, the Med Diet checklist will tell you what you should eat each day to score a health point. Just by increasing your score by 2 points, you can lower your risks for overall mortality from chronic diseases by 25%. At this point, I invite everyone to scan the QR code to assess your score as I go through each item in the following slides. Give yourself a point for every item you've eaten in the last 24 hours, as I discuss how I increase my Med Diet scores over the years. Point 1. Eat 2 to 3 cups of vegetables, especially dark and leafy ones. I increased my point by cooking vegetarian versions of traditional Filipino favorites like adobo and kare-kare. Even my pancit bihon has more cabbage, carrots, spinach, and broccoli than rice noodles. Not only did the fiber help with satiety and regular morning business, but it also made the dish more nutrient-dense rather than calorie-dense. Point 2. Eat 2 cups of legumes per week or about 1/4 cup of legumes daily. Easy peasy. I snacked on peanuts and roasted chickpeas or garbanzo beans, added black beans in my brownies, and pureed chickpeas as hummus dip for veggie snacks. Fun fact, eating legumes like munggo with whole grains like brown rice provides complementary proteins to meet the essential amino acid requirements of the body. Point 3. Eat at least 1 to 1.5 cups of fruits and 1/4 cup of nuts per day. What kind of a snacker are you? If you're a sweet snacker, trade chocolate cake or donuts for berries, apples, and other citrus fruits. Instead of ice cream, eat frozen blueberries with soy milk. For a nice summer chiller, freeze watermelons and cantaloupes. Did you know that grapefruit has been known to decrease the glycemic index of food when eaten before a meal? Additionally, you add another point to your score. If you're a salty snacker, eat 1/4 cup of lightly salted almonds a day. Sprinkle walnuts in salads. Use cashew to make dairy-free milk and cashew cream for dressings. Just don't get overboard with mindless snacking because 1 gram of fat gives 9 calories compared to 4 calories from each gram of protein or carbohydrates. Popcorn is a great whole grain snack, but pop your own kernel because most prepackaged ones are high in saturated fat or sodium. Read the label. Point 4. Eat 1.5 cup of whole grain per day. I love eating 3 to 5 cups of white rice per day. So how did my family make the switch? Little by little. By choosing the soft variety of brown rice and wild rice, we lowered our carbohydrate intake because of the fiber. I learned to use quinoa and amaranth. Fun fact, these 2 plant-based whole grains provide the complete essential amino acids which vegetarians need. Point 5. Eat 2 servings of 4-ounce fish a week. Fatty fish like salmon and tuna are high in essential fatty acids, unlike red meats that are high in saturated fats. A 4-ounce fish is about the size of the palm of your hand. Point 6. Use extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil, which are high in polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats. Dipping bread in extra virgin olive oil and balsamic vinegar with chopped oregano and rosemary is a healthier option than slathering it with butter. Although more expensive than palm oils and vegetable shortenings, these oils may save you from taking statins in the long run. Point 7. Eat less than 1 cup of dairy per day, and preferably the fermented, low-fat, unsweetened, and aged variety. I chose unsweetened Greek yogurt over the yogurts high in sugar, or used silken tofu blended with apple cider vinegar or lemon and added some fresh sweet fruits like mango and berries. And because the cheese on my pizza was also high in saturated fat, I shifted from serving pizza as a staple food for dinner into special occasions or emergencies only. Making our pizza using whole wheat flour tortilla, slathered with homemade minced garlic in extra virgin olive oil, and topped with heirloom tomatoes, mushroom, basil, and some feta cheese was another option. Point 8. Although the Mediterranean diet recommends meat, it was of the lean variety, and only about 3 to 4 ounces a day. Ground beef should be at least 90% lean or 90/10 on the label. I used to buy the 80/20 that was always on sale. I loved grilled barbecue and ate more than the recommended serving. And the briskets that I cooked tend to be fatty too. No wonder my LDL would sometimes shoot up. My lipid profile normalized when I became a flexitarian, a type of vegetarian who eats occasional bite-sized pieces of meat. Even my muscle pain subsided. Apparently, red meat, especially the grilled ones, tends to be inflammatory, just like sugar. Point 9. The Mediterranean diet recommends drinking red wine, 1 serving a day for women, about 100 ml, and 2 servings for men, about 200 ml. This is the serving size that provides the narrow window of benefit. You lose the health benefits without the wine or going more than the recommended serving. Drinking red wine with my dinner managed to curb my appetite for late-night snacking. One patient switched from drinking soda to drinking red wine and adopted the Mediterranean diet, and she lost weight and regained her health. Point 10. Although not part of the 9-point Med diet scoring system, I decided to add one more thing to my list: water. Often I forget to drink the recommended amount of 1.8 to 3 liters a day. On days that I drank enough water, I felt much better. Does dehydration contribute to my muscle and joint pains? After all, water accounts for about 60% of our body weight, lubricates the joints, and makes the muscles supple. Water is an essential element of health that we often overlook. So how did you fare with your Med diet score? A score 0 to 3 may put you at high risk for chronic diseases like obesity and cardiovascular diseases. A score of 4 to 6 may put you at moderate risk. Remember, adding 2 points to your score may decrease your risk by 25%. With these few shifts in my eating pattern, I increased my Med diet score, prevented the pre-disease states from becoming disease states. High triglycerides and LDL simply indicate that I ate too much saturated fat and refined carbohydrate instead of complex carbohydrates with soluble and insoluble fibers and health-promoting plant-based oils. One module in culinary medicine tackles mindfulness. Whenever we want to eat, it's not always because we're hungry. Sometimes I'm just bored or stressed or sleepy, and when I crave salty snacks, it's just because I'm thirsty. Learning how to interpret true hunger from false hunger made me respond to my body's needs better. Mindful awareness was the key. Knowing my hunger level through the hunger-fullness scale helped me become more sensitive to my body's needs. As long as I eat within a scale of 3 to 7, I avoid the extremes of hunger and the consequence of binge eating. In 2021, my blood test for the autoimmune panel turned negative. Did I find healing in my kitchen? I wouldn't be surprised. After all, ancient wisdom would point that the concept of culinary medicine is as old as time. In the book of Ezekiel, the prophet wrote, "Their fruits shall serve for food and their leaves for medicine." A helpful piece of advice attributed to Hippocrates, the father of medicine, rings true today. Let thy food be thy medicine. Saint Hildegard von Bingen, or I would say Dr. Bingen, a German mystic canonized in 2012 and declared a doctor of the church, once wrote, "Whenever the body of the person eats or drinks without discretion, or does something else of this kind, the forces of the soul is injured because everything is to be done with measure, since man cannot always dwell in heaven." She's known for her holistic approach for healing, advocating moderation in everything, and using plants as medicine. Clearly, Hildegard is the doctor of the kitchen. According to Thomas Edison, the doctor of the future will give no medication, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Obviously, it's not just culinary medicine that contributed to my healing. After all, man does not live by bread alone. What we feed our body, mind, and spirit, these all matter. Aside from choosing better food options and learning portion sizes, I had to choose a better lifestyle and positive habits. What do I feed my mind? Do I listen to negative self-talks? Or do I enrich my mind with positivity? Do I listen to positive people or negative ones? Do I build better relationships and restore broken ones? All this became a slow building process to mend my broken body, mind, and spirit. All of these self-care techniques are designed to improve our quality of life. Conducting webinars was not the only method I used to educate the public about culinary medicine. In May 2021, I created the Culinary Medicine Facebook group and wrote the 40-day challenge under the guide section, which provided more in-depth information about food, nutrition, and lifestyle changes. I also added a Cucina RX section in my website, inspiredcopywriting.com, where I posted the same 40-day challenge in a more streamlined fashion. These are free resources pertaining to culinary medicine and holistic approach to health and wholeness. Educating using social media and blogging are effective ways to reach more people. Because of social media, specifically Facebook, I became more engaged with the needs of the community. I sensed their desire for a more hands-on experience on culinary medicine. So I raised funds to be able to obtain the license to use the Health Meets Food courseware and offer the 6-week virtual cooking class for free in July 2021. Educating through the virtual cooking classes was a truly immersive culinary medicine experience. After conducting the virtual cooking classes in 2021, I realized that there's still so much more I want to learn so I can be a better teacher, coach, and mentor. As a famous Filipino saying would go, marami pa akong bigas na kakainin, or in my case, barley, which I discovered can lower LDL cholesterol. So I enrolled at the Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts in November 2021, and early this year, I'm proud to say I received my diploma in plant-based culinary arts. A significant part of the course requirement for this diploma was the 6-week externship at the UT Southwest Culinary Medicine program as a teaching kitchen assistant. I demonstrated knife skills to medical students and family medicine residents, shared a simple recipe with young students at Girls INC, and manned the booth of the Moncrief Cancer Institute during the Healthy Lives Matter prostate cancer screening event, as well as managed their social media site and develop handouts and educational materials. It was truly enriching experience. I don't know what the future would bring and where my Food RX journey would lead me. My dream is to be able to continue educating the Filipino population, especially the healthcare workers, about culinary medicine using a culturally adaptive, evidence-based culinary medicine program using the 40-day challenge as a starting point. How can I provide a more transformative and immersive experience? That is a challenge. And I hope that for some of you, this webinar will not end as a mere informational session that only fed the mind. Are there future culinary medicine advocates and educators from this audience? I hope so. I'd love to collaborate with you. Please feel free to contact me at cucinarx@gmail.com. The challenge is great. Many lives are on the line, and it may include yours or your family. In closing, I hope this final video will inspire you to become your own advocate.
Have you heard Guy's story? A stranger approached him one day and pointed to the top of two 15-story buildings. "Would you be willing to jump from this building to that building?" Guy looked at the distance between the two buildings and laughed. "Are you crazy? That's got to be at least 10 feet. Yeah, I might be able to make it, but if I didn't, I'd be dead or severely maimed." "What if I pay you $1?" "No way." "What if I give you $1 million?" $1 million isn't enough if I end up in the ICU, comatose for life, or whatever. Even $1 billion is nothing if I'm dead. "What if we set up a safety net and tied a rope around your waist?" At this point, the stranger tried to hand Guy a long, thick rope. Guy paused, looked back and forth between the buildings. He'd been a long jumper in high school. He might be able to make it. Plus, he'd have $1 billion to cover rehab if something went wrong with the safety net or rope. No thanks." Guy shook his head. "I'm not that stupid. And why are you asking me to jump from this building to that one anyway?" "Because there's only one way into the second building, and there's someone inside that building that desperately needs you." Guy looked at the other building. Suddenly, an apparition of his little daughter appeared in a window near the top, waving frantically. "Daddy, help me!" Smoke bellowed from behind her, and tongues of fire threatened to swallow her. "I'll do it," Guy shouted. "I'll jump even if you don't pay me." The power of your why. What is your why? Do you have a compelling reason for doing something that seems impossible? You might have tried many times in the past to lose weight or stick to a healthy lifestyle and still end up where you started. You've tried to give up a bad habit, and it still managed to creep back inside you, and you might have given up. But look around you, really look, and find your why. Find a compelling reason to accept this challenge, to become healthier, happier, and yes, holier. In other words, whole.
Thank you so much for your generous and kind attention. I hope you will join the Food as Medicine movement, whether in big or small ways. Remember, there's nothing too small when it comes to building God's healthy, happy, and holy kingdom here on earth. With every call comes the grace to respond.